Howdy. So Philip DeFranco did a great job explaining the Deadspin controversy today, but he mainly covered what it was about, not why. We know what the Deadspin controversy is, but not why there's so much internal friction. And as somebody who works in New York City media and has sold advertisements to Goldman Sachs, Infinity Cars, the CME Group, and been a journalist on editorial newsrooms, I can kind of, maybe extrapolate what's causing the tensions. If you're wondering why is Deadspin and the people that bought Deadspin just arguing like cats and dogs? The problem is complex but simple at the same time. Essentially what occurred was that when Deadspin was sold along with its other sister and brother media companies, Jalopnik and Jezebel, to Great Hill Partners, Deadspin was sold as the kind of sports publication. And so Great Hill Partners has in mind, okay, this is our sports media platform, and in order to attract advertisers, what we're going to tell them is that, hey, we cover sports. That's our demographic. Do you want to advertise to people that love sports? But here's where it gets tricky, because Deadspin isn't quite fully and entirely just a sports magazine. In fact, some of its largest articles in terms of traffic have been not very sports related. Now, this is pretty common in any sort of niche media company. It doesn't matter if it's a finance company like Bloomberg or Jezebel that's supposed to be a female Refinery 29 kind of deal, or Deadspin that's supposed to be sports. Every media company employs reporters that often aren't actually that interested with the mission statement of their company. So you're going to have reporters at Deadspin that aren't all that interested in sports. You're going to have journalists at Bloomberg that aren't all that interested in economics, primarily because there's just too many reporters and journalists. They've flooded the market. So coming out of journalism school, reporters will take jobs anywhere they can get, hoping that, yeah, I know I work for a sports magazine or a finance magazine or a female beauty outlet, but I actually really want to tell stories I want to tell. And sometimes this pays off for the media company, because if the reporter's good, they're able to tell a story that's compelling or convincing to what would normally be Deadspin's sports audience, but it still resonates with them. The problem comes the way the media company needs to monetize. If I was a project manager on their sales team, I would go and take it to Farmers Insurance or TD Ameritrade, and I'd say, hey, do you want to advertise with a sports demographic? Like, our audience mainly loves sports, but they might also be interested in kind of fantasy sports leagues. You know, maybe I can get Robinhood interested in doing some investment ad sales. Maybe I can get FanDuel interested in maybe doing some ad sales on Deadspin. Like, hey, there's a great overlap. But many advertisers want their content to be guaranteed to only appear on not only family but brand-friendly or on-brand content. And so when Farmers Insurance, which was the ad buyer that spent $1.6 million on Deadspin recently, when Farmers Insurance went to Deadspin, they were sold on this concept that their ads were going to run on sports content. This is why you saw the owner of Deadspin put down the kind of editorial mandate, hey, we need to focus on sports because that's what we're promising to the advertisers, that we're a sports magazine, even though I know sometimes we don't really cover sports, but that's how we're getting people to buy ads, is by selling them on our sports magazine. That's our demographic, sports fans, sports lovers. But there's a second problem Deadspin is having, and it's compounding it. So when the sales team goes and talks to Farmers Insurance and says, hey, not only can we promise you a sports engaged audience, we can promise you guys 4.5 million views. That's how many people are going to view your ad. But then they can only run it on certain types of content because Farmers Insurance doesn't want to run on non-sports content. So some of the biggest Deadspin articles that are getting all the traffic can't be monetized for Farmers Insurance. That then makes a deficit that sales teams got to make up somehow, because they've promised Farmers Insurance, hey, we're going to get 4.5 million views on your advertisements by the end of the year. You guys paid us $1.6 million. How can we make this happen? We can't monetize the posts and the videos that are most high traffic posts because they're not sports related or they're not brand friendly. We're going to implement a video player that auto plays and then starts serving ads. So whenever somebody comes to deadspin.com or a landing page or clicks a segment post, they're going to get this autoplay video, and we're going to be able to start just filling these views so we can deliver on our end to Farmers Insurance. Now, does this create a bad user interface and a bad customer experience for people that are coming to Deadspin? 100%. And perhaps the reporters at Deadspin are getting some nasty emails about it, saying like, hey, you guys used to be really light on advertising, what's going on? These things are super annoying. And the reporters are like, yeah, it's a clunky system for us too. But the sales team is doing their best to sell against the content they have. And when they can't sell against some of the unbrand friendly content or the non-sports related content, because remember, that's their niche, sports content, that's what they're selling to advertisers, they're forced to take kind of gimmicky approaches to fill that amount of views. And all these collide to create a system and an incentive where the reporters want to continue reporting on stories they're interested in, which isn't always about sports. But two, they have somewhat of a legitimate argument that, hey, why do we always have to report about sports? Look at all these stories that have driven lots of traffic to the site. What's the problem? These are some of the highest trafficked articles. Why are you telling us only to report sports? What the heck? And then sales is saying, well, yeah, that's great that you drove a lot of traffic, but that traffic earned us $0 because we couldn't put ads on those non-sports content. Now, once again, I'm speculating a little bit here, but I've worked in enough newsrooms and enough project managing, branded content, partnerships, sponsored content, you name it, with enough different companies that I kind of have a feel for how these things go. And this is creating the why there's so much tension in between Deadspin. The ultimate resolution to how you get out of these kind of bad situations is two things can happen. The owners of Deadspin can say, hey, we really only want to be a sports magazine and we're going to slowly eliminate anybody who wants to sail this ship in a different direction. Kind of take a Steve Jobs approach. We're going this way with the company. I don't care what you thought before. If you're not happy with it, get off the boat. And if you're not going to get off, we're going to push you off the plank. And it can sound kind of brutal, but if that's what it takes for the company that this Great Hills partner bought, and remember, they bought it as an investment to make money, they're going to do that. The other half is that if the reporters and the video producers at Deadspin are able to generate enough eyeballs and enough content that's related to whatever sales is selling, to begin with, they wouldn't have to implement bad ad tech, like videos that autoplay with the sound on. Like, that's just a bad user experience. But the Deadspin is being forced to do that because they're not able to generate enough concurrent traffic or DAUs, whatever it is, daily active users, just corporate media jargon, whatever it is, to satisfy what they promised Farmers Insurance or whatever company they've sold ads to. And so you get this really just friction-filled contention between the kind of capitalist mind of a media company and the kind of reporter mind of a media company. Those are a few ways out of that situation. It's a sticky situation. I don't want to take sides. I'm not saying one side is purer or better motivated than the other. Often, most people have the best of intentions in these things. Journalists have the best of intentions of just wanting to report stories that people care about. And salespeople and people that buy companies often want to continue to employ people. They just want to make a profit or not be running a deficit for the company they just bought. It's one of these catch-22 situations often, but hopefully this explains why the Deadspin controversy is occurring, why it's blowing up in the New York media, and even Philip DeFranco is now covering it. If you found this interesting or insightful, or hopefully contextualized a little bit how media companies operate behind the scenes, click like, subscribe, double dislike if you found it tedious and boring, and you're like, man, this guy just is garrulous. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.